Did you know that old Soviet Union was obsessed with creating superhumans? While that sounds very harsh and even like they did not train them but engineer them, it is true. Through very specific scientific studies and brutal discipline, tracking every single move and muscle twitch, they tried every single method to find the best way to get extraordinary results and to dominate competition or the West. One of the main sports they devoted to is boxing. They did not only apply a systematic approach to technique training that was famously called the Soviet boxing style, which was different to every kind of boxing style with alternative footwork, distance control, and even throwing the punches, but also psychological and especially strength and conditioning. In today's video, you will find out how the nation who invested millions and millions of dollars has created some of the most dominant fighters and the best athletes from the 1920s until today, which methods they used, and how you can train like them. Most of the fighters and coaches try to reinvent the wheel and try to create new ways to achieve big results without confidence that this would actually work, while there is tons and tons of scientifically proven ways that Soviets used for their achievements, and we see it because Soviet Union in that time was absolutely leading the sports. And of course, still to this day, there are scraps of these scientifically proven methods for strength training by some of the best coaches. But first, some of the examples of the Soviet strength and conditioning were Gennady Golovkin, Olympic silver medalist, multiple middleweight world champion, and one of the highest KO ratios in middleweight history. Next, Vasyl Lomachenko, two-time Olympic gold medalist, three-division world champion, and one of the most technically gifted fighters. Next, Artur Beterbiev, WBC, IBF, and WBO light heavyweight champion with 100% KO ratio until his first loss, and one of the scariest punches in the sport. And this was only 3 examples, and there are many, many more. Strength training for Soviet boxers, excessive muscle size was not the point. While they were fairly skinny, you would be so wrong if you think they are weak and fragile. The point of the boxer's physique was not to scare his opponent, but to perform as best as it can humanly possible, and even more. By having excessive muscle size, you will not get strength but less endurance, because more muscle needs more oxygen, even making you slow and keeping you tense, which is the biggest enemy for a boxer. The basic strength exercises are, of course, heavy squats, deadlifts, and bench presses, which build power from legs up to the upper body, because power starts from the legs. Plyometrics. For boxers, this is maybe the most, if not the most, important type of training. There is no need for anyone to tell you how much explosiveness is generally important in sports, let alone boxing, for fluid, fast movement. Soviets, of course, focused on fast twitch muscle development and sudden bursts of power. Soviet plyometric exercises are depth jumps, clap push-ups, and kneeling jump to standing. Ballistics. You maybe have not heard about this type of training, but in simplest terms, ballistic training is an explosive type of training where the goal is to accelerate through the entire movement, often ending in a release. Not like in traditional strength training where you slow down at the end, but maximum speed and power release. Soviets mostly relied on this type of training for the maximum output. Exercises like kettlebell swings, medicine ball slams, landmine press with release, often to avoid deceleration, and sledgehammer tire slams, which was one of the favorite ways for Soviet fighters to develop abnormal power in punches. Olympic lifts. This type of training is one of the best ways to train for explosiveness and power. The only problem with this is that they are so hard to perform that you need to train specifically for technique, for time and time again, to actually do it right, and to get benefits from this type of training. And for somebody who already trains boxing and probably doesn't have time or wants to waste time that he could use for more technique training, the only solution is to learn one Olympic lift and stick with it to perfect it and get all of the benefits. And the only one which is simplest to learn yet has the best return on investment is the power clean. The difference between all the other explosive trainings, like plyometrics, ballistic training, and the Olympic lifts is they have specific form of explosiveness development, where from lifting barbell from ground up, you develop whole body explosiveness starting from legs up, which has triple extension from ankles, knees, and hips, similar to punching scenarios, which is divided into 2 or 3 explosive phases. Conditioning. The conditioning, like with every other part of their physical preparation, was brutal, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't very specific and scientifically proven and measured. They tracked everything: rest, heart rate, muscle fatigue, VO2 max, even psychological states. The long distance running built stamina or the aerobic capacity, while sprints developed explosive endurance or the anaerobic capacity. Of course, jumping rope helped with rhythm and footwork while keeping steady pace. Mitt work, heavy bag work, shadow boxing with weights, and prolonged sparring sessions mimicked the tempo of the real fight and were a regular part of the everyday training that built cardiovascular base. In summary, Soviet boxing style was not just rigorous strength and conditioning. They produced complete athletes with power, speed, strong psyche, endurance, discipline, mobility, flexibility, and even strength. For every aspect of boxing, there was a coach, strength, technique, and endurance to provide the best results. Unlike nowadays, where one coach is for every aspect of the sport, and if someone focuses on many things, results can be mediocre. The Soviets recruited the right brains for the right tasks. So in that case, they produced one of the best, if not the best athletes in that time. Thank you for watching. If you got value from this, drop a like, share it with someone who needs it, and hit subscribe for more. See you next time.